what does the actual scientific evidence say? Are there cracks in the theory of evolution that most people don't hear about?
We could go on for hours and days, actually, talking about the scientific support for the Bible and the scientific problems for evolution. So I can only maybe try to pick a couple of things that hopefully give people reason to at least investigate further. For one thing, okay, this is a really critical thing. The theory of evolution talks about natural selection as being kind of like one of the major engines that kind of, drives or facilitates evolution. And their understanding of natural selection, the way it usually is communicated, is the idea that some living things adapt to whatever their environment, whatever their situation might be, and those that manage to adapt survive, and those that don't adapt. And the assumption is always in that these things are improving themselves in such a way as to survive in these circumstances. But genetic research has made very clear that there's absolutely no new information being introduced into any of these living organisms in any of these scenarios. When they study the genome, which of course is, that's the source of all the information in a body, in any whether it's plant or animal or human being, that's kind of like where all the source code is in the genome. As they study these things and they look at speciation of things, what they've actually discovered, now that they can actually look into the genome, is that there's no new information. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's loss of information. Mm-hmm. So the DNA code and RNA is so rich and full of information. That's how any living thing, people, animals, when we procreate, our children are not all exactly the same exact copy of ourselves. They're not clones.
No.
Right? Each one is unique and individual from us as well as from each other. And as a father, I can attest to how 3 different children could be 3 very, very different people. Yeah. Not only in looks, but in personality and everything else. But how is it that my wife and I, and if we kept having, more and more children, every single one of these children would look different. Sure, you might see family traits, but each one is going to have their own shade of hair and, their own eyes, their own facial construction and everything like that. And so the variety is just so abundant. And that's because there's way more information than necessary to duplicate in the DNA code. 100%. Well, what we have observed, what scientists have observed, and I say we because I'm not really a scientist. I love science, but I just read the scientists, their reports. But what they have discovered is that with every new species that develops and so on, as well as every generation from people down